Welcome to the Librarian's Midnight Library. I'm your librarian, and the world has finally gone quite enough for a story. Today, we step into the suffocating candlelit halls of the vault to uncover a tale of darkness. Take a deep breath, leave the world behind, and let's begin. In the heart of a city where the fog never truly lifts, there lived an artist named Silas Swain. Silas did not paint with oils, nor did he chisel stone. He worked in wax. His studio was a converted cathedral where the stained glass had been painted over in black, and the air always hummed with the low, bubbling sound of industrial vats. People traveled from across the continent to see his work. His wax figures weren't just realistic, they were unsettling. If you stared at the figure of the crying widow long enough, you would swear a bead of moisture sat on her cheek. If you stood near the slumbering soldier, you could almost hear the faint rhythmic whistle of a breath that never came. I was a generalist then, young and arrogant enough to believe that every secret had a logical explanation. I secured an invitation to Silas Vane's annual event, the Masquerade of Stillness. The invitation was a thick slab of black wax with my name pressed into it in gold leaf. Come as you are, it read. Live as you were meant to be. I arrived at the manor at midnight. The house smelled of honey and hot iron. Thousands of candles flickered in crystal chandeliers, but they didn't cast much light. The wax was so thick on the floor that it seemed to swallow the shadows. The guests were already there. They were the elite of the city, bejeweled, silent, and motionless. They stood in clusters, dressed in silks and velvet, holding champagne, foods that never moved. I assumed they were Vane's masterpieces, placed there to intimidate the living guest. Then Silas Vane appeared. He was a man who looked like he had been poured into his clothes. His skin was unnaturally smooth, and he didn't blink, not once. Do you like them? Silas whispered, leaning so close I could smell the paraffin on his breath. They are my finest work. They have achieved what humanity fears most: perfection. No more aging, no more hunger, no more noise. Where are the living guests, Mr. Vane? I asked, my voice sounding thin in the vast hall. Silas smiled, and the skin around his mouth crinkled like parchment. You are looking at them, my friend. They are merely waiting for their turn to dance. He led me to the center of the ballroom. A great vat of clear molten wax sat in the center of the floor, streaming gently. Music began to play, a slow dragging waltz that sounded like it was being played deep underwater. One by one, the silent guests began to move, but they didn't move like people. They moved with a stiff, clicking grace. A woman in a red gown reached out to me. Her hand felt warm, unnaturally warm, and as our skin touched, I realized with a jolt of ice in my veins that her hand wasn't skin at all. It was a thin, translucent layer of wax over a pulse that was slowing down. Secret, Silas said, walking around us as we shuffled across the floor, is the layering. You cannot simply dip a soul. You must apply the wax while the blood is still moving, layer by layer, breath by breath, until the movement of the heart becomes a vibration within the ember. I tried to pull away, but the floor was no longer wood. It was soft, My shoes were sinking into a pool of warm, clear liquid that was rising from the floorboards. I looked at the woman in the red gown. Her eyes were wide, darting frantically behind a thin, glossy film. She was alive. She was in there. She was a prisoner in a cage made of her own stillness. The wax reached my knees. It felt like a heavy, warm blanket, but as it cooled, it tightened. It began to pull at my skin, sealing my pores, silencing the hair on my arms. I tried to scream, but Silas was there with a silver ladle. Don't worry, he hissed. The first layer is always the hardest. After that, you will find the silence addictive. He raised the ladle. A clear liquid shimmered in the candlelight. I saw my reflection in the molten wax, a face twisted in a silent plea. I don't remember the escape, I only remember the sound of my own skin tearing as I ripped my legs from the cooling floor. I remember the smell of my own hair burning as I ran past the chandeliers. I ran until the smell of honey was replaced by the salt of the sea. I am older now. My skin is wrinkled and my bones ache in the rain, but sometimes when I sit too close to a fire or when the sun hits my arm just right, I see a faint unnatural shimmer on my skin, a leftover patch of Sila's veins perfection. And every night before I sleep, I check my joints. I move my fingers, I blink, because I know that somewhere in that fog-drenched city, Sila's vein is still waiting. He's still melting the wax, and he still has a place saved for me in the dance. The candles have burned down to nothing, and the wax has hardened into silence. Thank you for entering the vault of shadows here at the Librarian's Midnight Library. If you felt the warmth of the masquerade tonight, be careful of the light. Some things are better left in the dark. Subscribe to keep your place in our collection. Until the next midnight, stay fluid and sleep well.